Casual versus speedrun has always been about temples and strats that are actually used in any percent speedruns for now. But what about the items that are collected in a normal playthrough, but not as commonly seen in speedruns? Are there strats for them as well? Well, of course there are! This time we'll show you 2 really common scenarios from the normal playthrough, and which possibilities you have to spice up your strategy game. We start off by entering Pirate's Fortress and wait for the cutscene, followed by swimming to the other side of the map. Here we switch to the Goron mask, which opens an underwaterway, which we can use to swim through, followed by a couple of water mines, which we have to avoid, and are then confronted with a locked up heart piece and a locked fence that prevents us from moving on to Pirate's Fortress. In this room there are 2 switches. One is a rather obvious one, which opens the fence for us to proceed, and then there is another hidden switch behind the barrels, which opens the door to the heart piece. We trigger the switch, grab the heart piece, then trigger the other one, and continue to Pirate's Fortress. From here we head up the ladder in the middle after knocking out at least 2 pirates. Listen to the conversation about the hidden treasure, and then shoot down the beehive, which makes sure the pirates run away, and lets us continue to grab the hookshot, which allows us to start the seemingly never-ending egg hunt.
We enter Pirate's Fortress and swim to the other side, as usual. After walking past the Goron switch, we use a bomb to get a glitch called Infinite Sword Glitch, which we activate by crouch stabbing a bomb and picking it up in the first possible frame, which ends up interrupting the attack and keeps our sword active all the time. This leads to the effect that we cannot fall off ledges anymore, and furthermore, if we shield damage while in mid-air, the game will keep us in place without falling down anymore. We use this to skip the Goron switch and the sewers altogether, but since we want to grab the heart piece, we'll have to go there later again. But first, let's grab the hookshot. Here we have several options. Let's start with our possibilities on the Japanese version. The pirates have limited sight at night in the Japanese version, just like the Gerudos in all Ocarina of Time versions. We can use this to just enter the hookshot room at night without shooting the beehive. If we do this, we can perform a sight up and get past the first pirate without getting caught. If we have a bow at this point, which we usually do, we can now break the barrel and just shoot the beehive from down here, as the limited sight still allows us to stay here for a while before getting caught. If we don't have a bow, we can drop a bomb on top of the barrels, perform a side top, and then blast ourselves onto the fish tank. This trick requires some practice though, and isn't as easy as it looks. Let's move on to the English version. For whatever reason, Nintendo of America decided to change the pirate sight at night, which means we can't just enter the hookshot room like we can in the Japanese version. We can still avoid climbing the ladder though by using the Goron mask to roll up on top of the roof of Pirate's Fortress. But what about the heart piece now? Well, we get caught to get thrown right in front of the door of the sewers, which we then enter and head downwards. If we try to proceed backwards from here, we will face a closed fence rather quickly, which prevents us from completing our plan. But we can use a little rather complicated trick here. First, we climb up the ladder next to the fence. Now we perform a little setup to get into the right position, switch to Deku Link and side up into the water. If we now void out at a certain spot above the stream, which is meant to suck us into the water, we get sent flying, at the exact same speed needed in order to clip through the ceiling. As we are now out of bounds, we only need to navigate to the previous area and use the Deku bounces to get inbounds again and grab the heart piece. This is possible as the stream in the water is the same that are used in Stone Tower Temple, and if we're Deku Link as we get into those, Link will automatically use his flowers to fly upwards. As we void it out while being on top of the stream, we pretty much void out as we are in a on-stream state, which makes Link draw his flowers and fly upwards. Pretty darn neat.
This one can be a little more tedious, but also mandatory. Getting to the Deku Palace. We enter the swamp and hear that Kome went missing. From here we head into the Woods of Mystery, where a little monkey helps us find her. If you ever wonder why you couldn't remember the way, it's probably cause the route through the maze changes depending on the day you're on. After finding the injured, we head back to her sister, tell her what happened to Kome, and give her the potion. Here lies another small fun fact. If you happen to already have a bottle at this point and tried to give Kome a red potion before talking to Kotake, the game will lock up and refuse to let you continue as you're not meant to have a bottle yet. Regardless, we head back out of the Woods of Mystery and enter the photo hut. Here we get the Picto Box, followed by a free boat ride. This ride mainly serves one purpose: getting rid of the big Octo which is blocking the way to the Deku Palace. So many annoying things on the side, just to get to another location.
We enter the swamp, and leave Coma behind if you want to. Depending on the run, we have to get the bottle though, which means we'll enter the Woods of Mystery, perform a trick called Hyperextended Super Slide, which lets us slide backwards with immense speed, and control the slide at the same time. As we reach Coma, we talk to her, go to Kotake, grab the bottle, and move on. If we choose to grab the Picto Box, we stand right next to the exit, which happens to be outside of the boat ride trigger, and we can exit the photo hut without having to go on that super long, tedious boat ride. To get to Deku Palace, we now have several options. Either we already have the Zora mask, then we can use the Zora fins to get rid of the big Octo fairly fast. If we have the Gorin mask, we can get on top of the photo hut house and then roll past the big Octo. But those are rather unusual cases, so let's roll with the more common ones. We can go to the big Octo that is further away as Deku Link, hop onto one of the red flowers, and place a bomb behind us. If done correctly, we will jump towards the ledge next to the Octo and can put on the Deku mask before we get tossed away again. If we do so, the Octo will grab us and spit us away, but as we landed on the ledge before, we will respawn there again as Deku Link, which means that we can just hop past the big Octo if we're fast enough, which will then spawn on the other side again and spit us right into the Deku Palace direction. If we don't have bombs, there is a more complicated way to skip the big Octo. We can jump onto one of the lily pads as Deku, then turn into Human Link, which will make the lily pad sink. Just as that happens, we put on Deku Mask again and hit the C up button to get into first person mode. As the lily pad is now sinking while we are in first person mode, Deku Link will start hopping on the water while we still are in first person mode, which lets us now control the game in this mode. And trust me, this is really not fun to control, as most of our turns are only 90-degree turns. We turn away from the big Octo and align ourselves in a way that will always reach lily pads with side hops. If done correctly, the big Octo will always be behind the camera and thus won't load, which means we can just pass him by without him ever spawning. This is fairly hard and tedious to do though, and is really not recommended to do at all. Seriously, I've tried this trick several times and honestly, screw it. Thank you for joining in on some more casual versus speedrun fun. Obviously there's way more to cover, but everything at its time.